some familiar faces in the crowd, which is great. We are here to have fun tonight. So you're here, I would encourage you to participate. You drove all the way down here. I want you to be able to get the most out of it that you possibly can. So part of our mission today is we're going to do some reflecting. We're going to talk about recharging your battery and taking care of you. And we're also going to rekindle that joy or the fun in what you're doing. So just so I can have kind of an idea of who's here tonight, who works in a child care setting? Yay, okay. Who works in a school, like pre-K? Just a few, so we're mostly child care people. Ages that we work with, how many infant teachers? Where are the babies? Oh, I love the infant teachers. What about, where's the toddler people? Oh, toddler people, and pre-K. Okay, fabulous. All right, like I said, I am from Omaha. I have 4 children of my own. I have a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and an 8-month-old. So if I fall asleep up here tonight, you can come up and tap me on the shoulder, or you can just let me snooze. I just need 15 minutes. If you're a mom, you know that's all we need. We need 15 solid minutes, and then we're up, we're good to go. But we aren't going to be sleeping tonight. There is candy for you to keep you up and motivated and bright. Okay. So when I began my career here in Omaha, I graduated from UNO, and I was hired as a kindergarten teacher for OPS. I worked at Castellar Elementary. And those of you who aren't familiar with Castellar, it's on 18th and Martha. So right in between kind of the heart of South O and downtown, right on the verge. And the demographic of the kiddos that are served there, when I was there, it's about the same still. But when I was teaching there back in 2003, 90% of the children qualified for free reduced lunch. 88% of those children were English language learners with the primary language at home being Spanish. And there was about a 25% mobility rate, which meant that my classroom was a revolving door. There were kids that came and went, and it was for various reasons that were beyond control of parents, and there was a lot of just movement. So it was a demanding population, but I loved it. I worked there for 8 years. I loved those babies. They loved me. I loved the families. I loved working in South Omaha. And someday when I do return teaching, I was just telling these ladies over here, I would like to try a different area of the city because I'm sure I would love that area too, but South Omaha has such support from their families and those children, and it's a wonderful place to be. So when I first began, I started off, you know, as you do. I was a 22, 23-year-old girl, and I was bright-eyed and like Mary Tyler Moore. I was ready to change the world with my smile. I was ready to do it all. And I hopped on in there, and I was so excited to just be in a classroom. And I did something that I hope many of you still do, but I taught the way I was taught to teach. So, for example, since I had an early childhood background, I knew that I needed to allow those kids to move, right? There was lots of movement. If I had students who sat on their knees, I said, that's fine, as long as everyone can see and we aren't interrupting anyone. No problem. The kids that I had that first year, my first rookie year, would shout out answers, and I'd say, no problem, as long as we're allowing, you know, everyone gets a chance and we can all share, and they had this great student expression. But guess who doesn't like that style of teaching? The rest of the school has a problem with that, right? The first grade teachers were saying, oh, when they come to first grade, they're not gonna know how to sit, and they aren't going to raise their hands, and they won't follow our rules. And the art teacher would come in and sit with my students who were on their knees, and she'd have a fit, and she'd say, oh, no, give me 5, you sit crisscross applesauce. And so I started to change. I started to kind of confirm to the herd of the climate of the school. I said, oh, well, I don't want to, you know, be looked upon as this teacher who doesn't follow through, or I don't want to look like I have this class of wild people. I want to be accepted as a good teacher, so I changed. What I knew in my heart of hearts was how I should have been teaching. I went and I conformed. And that made me not feel very good inside about what I was doing, right? I started to become kind of unhappy. But I was really good about giving those expectations. I could conform really good. I could say, give me 5. I need your eyes, your ears, your feet are quiet, your hands are in your lap, your mouth is closed, looking at me, crisscross applesauce, hands in your lap. Very rigid I had become, and it started to impact how I enjoyed my job. So I wasn't very happy with that. I was feeling kind of like, I know I have all this background knowledge that I know that I should be teaching a certain way, but I feel like if I do that, I'm not going to fit in with the rest of the school, and I started to change, so it made me unhappy. Something else happened about after my 5th year, I started having all these babies of my own. So I had become a mother of 2, and I felt this strain. The children at Castelar Elementary, it's a lovely school to be, but it is a demanding population to work with. So I felt like after I had some of my own children, I couldn't serve the needs of those kids the same way that I was before I was a mother. And same at home. I felt like I was not giving my own children the same care that I could possibly give them because I was torn. Now, I would like to say there are many men and women who are able to do this beautifully and have this balance, and it's not an issue. For me, it was hard, and it made me unhappy. And I like to tell my husband that if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy, right? Same with teacher. If teacher ain't happy, nobody's happy. You have to make a change. If you're doing something that you are unhappy doing, go ahead and branch out, try something new. Change schools, change centers, change classrooms, change careers. You have to be happy, because the point of this whole journey is none of us are getting out alive, right? We're all gonna go. You might as well, while you're here, enjoy what you're doing. So I knew I had to leave because I didn't want to end up being a crusty old school marm. So luckily for me, I had a friend who also was a teacher, and she had left teaching, and she worked at UNMC as a program evaluator. She said, I really think that you're gonna like it. You can take a break, and you're still in the classroom, you're still working with people, you're still seeing kids, but it's not the same level of stress. Because you all, I know that you are on the front line every day, and your jobs are hard, and you're underpaid, and you're overworked, and you're overtired, and you do not get enough credit for what you do. I am a big advocate for you, and I am an advocate for children, but I'm also for you all, because it is hard what you're doing, and I think you need to celebrate that and be acknowledged for that, because what you're doing is hard, especially in early childhood, where we are often looked upon as babysitters, right? That's not what we're doing. That we are very, very important. Our role in education is the very first experiences that they're going to have in the school setting. That's you all. You're on the front line. So luckily I was able to leave, so I didn't continue down my path of being a crusty old lady. So while I was working at UNMC during my first month, one of the things that I was taught was called the class tool. And I don't know if some of you have heard of that, but it is coming for you. It's coming into the pre-K classrooms. It's trickling down into these other areas for childcare, and it measures something that I believe in. It measures your interactions and your relationships with kids. So when I'm sitting in this training at UNMC, I had taught kindergarten for 8 years, and I had started to conform and be crusty. And I'm sitting in the class training, and it was almost like being hit upside the head with a 2x4, because they were telling me this research-based tool said, we want to see what kind of relationships you have. We want to see if you allow the children to move. We want to see if you allow them to play and have hands-on experiences. We want to see if you allow them to talk. And it just was so shocking to me that here I am sitting in this training, realizing that the things that I was doing my first few years, my first rookie years when I was Mary Tyler Moore, ready to change the world, I should have continued on. And now I have this rare opportunity where I'm out of the classroom and I have this time, and I was able to reflect. So that's what led me to this adventure. I never, ever, ever thought I would write a book or be standing here in front of you tonight. I never set out to be a presenter or an author or any of that. But life takes you in funny ways sometimes. So I have an opportunity to get educators to take the time to reflect, recharge, and rekindle, and it's called Crisscross Applesauce and Shut the Hell Up. 10 reflective lessons for new and seasoned teachers. Because I really want to encourage you to give the power back to your kids. Even you infant teachers, there are ways to allow those babies to have choice. and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. This is not going to be the Colleen show. I'm gonna need your help. I'm gonna encourage you to participate because you're here. You came all the way down here, so you might as well try and get something out of it. When I left my last year of teaching, I would have been in the back. I would have had my lesson plan book out. I would have been writing my labels or checking my Facebook or something else because I had become so crusty that I thought there isn't any sort of in-service that I can go to that they're gonna teach me anything. Unless if it was something where they would like help me make something that I could use in my classroom. Those I was cool with that. But if there was some way where they're just saying, no, we're gonna reflect and you need to know this or that, I would have been very kind of blocked from that. So I'm so thankful that I've had this opportunity to take a break and leave. So just think about that. If you're not happy doing what you're doing, make a change. Switch your center, switch your age group that you're working with. Find something that you like, find the joy, okay? So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first objective is the educator will give students a voice. So I hope that I see everyone with their feet flat on the floor. Put your hands on the table, 2 hands on the table. Nothing in your hands. Okay? You should be quiet. You should not be talking to anyone by you. I hope you have blue or black for your ink. No green or purple. Do not drink any of that water. That candy is only for looking at. I can drink the water because I'm a presenter. Right? Okay, this is not really what we're doing. I did this at Iowa Western with these brand new freshman baby teachers, and this girl stood up when I was doing that, and she was ready to walk out, and I go, no, don't leave, this is not really what it is. But how does that feel? That's what we're doing to these kids. We can't do that. You don't like that. How would you like that if you went to the bathroom with one of your best friends and they said, don't talk to her. Don't talk to your friend in the bathroom. Be quiet. Don't engage. Don't look at anyone. Don't smile. Don't have fun. No. We're business here. It doesn't feel good, right? And it's what we're doing to kids. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have classroom expectations. You have to have those, right? Otherwise, chaos. Those are the backbone of your classroom. So if we don't have that structure, we can't get anything done. But what I am saying is we want to allow the children to be autonomous. And what that means is they have ownership of their learning. They have choice. They're able to make decisions for themselves about what they're doing. Be flexible with the students' academic desires and needs. And please let them talk. Oh my goodness, please let those kids talk. We are having the teacher show. Do you know what the teacher show is? The teacher show is teacher talks. Teacher decides what we're doing. Teacher decides how long. Teacher decides who. Teacher decides all the things. And we've been airing that show for a long time, and now it's time to cancel the show. In your classroom, I encourage you not to air the teacher show. I know I did. Towards the end, I was nice. I didn't have any negative climate with those babies, but I was airing the teacher show. I've got all these things I need to get done, and we got to get them done now, right? Okay. So allow students choice in their learning, follow their lead, and take time to truly listen to their thoughts and needs. I love this quote. The biggest enemy to learning is the teacher talking. And this is a lyric from a song you'll hear on the radio. My little 6-year-old, her name is Scarlett. She's a redhead, so it's perfect that she's Scarlett. But she loves this song, and she'll sing it in the back of the car, and it says, you don't have to change a thing, the world can change its heart. And that's what I feel about early childhood education. Sometimes we're allowing what others are thinking should be happening in your classroom to change what you know is right in your heart. Okay? Our next objective, the educator will roll with the punches. I want to tell you a quick story about blocks from the 1970s. So when I was hired to teach, I was hired in September, and the children had already begun their year. So I had taken half of a class from a kindergarten teacher who had way too many. There were like 40 kids, so they said, oh, we need to hire somebody new. So I came in September, And the school that I was hired was Castellar, and they were being remodeled, and so we were housed in the Mills building. And the Mills building is this huge warehouse, and there's no walls. It's cubicles. And they'll put 2 or 3 schools in there at the same time while the schools are being redone. So when I was called from OPS, from the TAC building, they called and they said, you have an interview. And I said, great. And I said, where? And they said, for Castellar Elementary. I said, okay. And they said, we want you to go there. It's located here. And I was so nervous. I stayed up all night. I read through all of my, my student teaching portfolio, and I had all my ducks in a row, and I was very worried about this interview. I get to the Mills building. The principal is wearing tennis shoes. He's running around like a crazy man. And when he finally has time to sit with me, he asks me 2 questions. He says, do you like young children? And I said, yes. And he said, when can you start? And I was like, well, I guess in a couple weeks I can start. I was working as a para for Westside, so I said, yes, I can start in a few weeks. And I didn't need to worry about this interview, I guess. They would have taken anybody that walked in off the street who likes young children and could start. So I was hired, and I came into the Mills building, go into my classroom. I had just graduated from college. My husband had just graduated too, but neither of us had jobs, so we did not have money for me to go out and buy teacher stuff. So I thought, oh, I'll just go get a calendar and I'll get the ABCs. And then that will be, I'm sure this school will have everything else that I could need. They'll provide for me. I was in Westside. I know when those teachers started, they had everything. They had a couch, they had rugs, they had a lamp, they had everything they could want. So I wasn't worried. And then I walk into that classroom. On my first day, they gave me 1 day to work, and they said, you can set up your room. And I just had my calendar and my ABCs. And I walk in there, and there is literally a box of wooden blocks from 1972 and the curriculum that came with teaching kindergarten, and that was it. And I wanted to leave, and I wanted to run out and say, I cannot teach here. I don't have anything. But I decided to stick it out. And I knew that I needed to go with the flow. So what that means is if you have in your brain an ideal of what you think it should be for what you're doing, like let's say that you think, I only teach toddlers. I don't go in any other room. I am the toddler teacher. And you get hired at this daycare and they say, we need an infant person. Try it. Why not try it? Maybe you'll love it. I'm so glad I gave this job an opportunity because I have such great memories from working there. So for our first activity tonight, what we're gonna do is I want you to imagine that you are talking to yourself when you first began doing what you're doing, when you first either became an infant teacher or a daycare provider or a coach or whatever it is. Think about yourself. Now, if you're brand new, think about a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago. I want you to think about what you know now that you want to tell your past self. And I have an example. I said, dear Colleen, you are doing a good job. It's okay that you're feeling like you don't know what in the hell you're doing. Fake it until you make it. Remember to continue to build relationships with your students. Keep smiling, singing, and having fun with your class. Ask for help when you need it. Love, future Colleen. P.S. Please do not teach summer school this year. You'll need to recharge before your group that is coming next year. They're very hard. So what I want you to do is give yourself what you know now. Tell your past self some advice. So go ahead and take the next 2 minutes, 2, 3